Three-tone.
That's called a golfer's tan.
No, I got.
There you go, a little browner.
I'm like brown,
Dark
sunny,
brown.
and white.
Well, maybe a medium brown.
That's Auburn.
26th? That's the 26th, we got that today.
You have to go for the new colors.
I saw something come through and said, here's the
Junked the car today and it had a rainbow umbrella. I'm like,
Some over here.
Is that first reading? Oh, that's the,
Railroad is exempt. Any laws that we can pass.
Good evening, everyone. I'd like to welcome everyone to the Mount Olive Township Council meeting and workshop for July 26, 2016. If you would please stand and for the Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing for a moment of silence for our men and women that serve us.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Michelle, would you read the Open Public Meetings Act, please?
According to the Open Public Meetings Act, adequate notice of this meeting has been given to the Daily Record. Notice has been posted in the Municipal Building, 204 Flanders Drakestown Road, Bud Lake, New Jersey, and notices were sent to those requesting the same.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Mr. Amianda, Mr. Ferrante, Mrs. Labow, Mr. Mania,
Here.
Mr. Stewart.
Here.
Mr. Roman.
Here.
Mr. Nicastro.
Here. Mr. Mayor, you have someone next to you to,
Damon Johnson.
from Eagle for
What's that?
Scouts. Thank
I'm
you.
sure you've known him for many years.
I know, yeah, one of my neighbors.
What troop?
He's Eagle Scout.
What troop?
Are you also going for a scout?
I'm sorry?
249.
Thank you.
Come on up. Sit next to me.
And we have one more.
Are you also going for Eagle Scout?
I'm working on badges for Eagle Scouts.
Okay, come on up, sit next to me.
And his name?
Your name and troop?
Tyler Schmill, Troop 156.
Thank you and welcome.
We don't get
First-
to vote down this end, so.
First item up for discussion is the Township Code regarding sewer and water, Article 8. Laura, would you like to bring us up to date on that?
Well, the issue is basically that we have a developer in town who would like to put garbage disposals in his units, and I think that there was an understanding that the township had an ordinance prohibiting garbage disposals. As it turns out, one was created but never adopted. So I did actually ask our Public Works Director if he could be here tonight. He requested that we hold off on the discussion because he wants to get more information. I know that we've looked into the MSA's standards and they do not prohibit garbage disposals, so Tim will be speaking with our water and sewer foreman to get more information, and he said the two of them would be happy to attend to, provide more information once they've discussed.
I think the question is, with the developer, what do we tell the developer who's calling to find out about putting them in if there is no ordinance? How do we handle that now?
It's gonna have to wait. Until if there's no ordinance, then he can put them in, but ultimately it may ultimately be banned in town. This was something which was discussed many years ago. I had to go back to Ray Perkins, our sewer and water expert. There was, my recollection is that there was a lot of discussion that there were sewage authorities that were not accepting waste that included food waste in the stream. And because it mucked up the works and created a lot of extra gallonage that otherwise didn't need to go into the sewer stream. So that's where it ultimately came from. And as Laura has said, ultimately we need to get more information before it can be discussed. I mean, I really don't care one way or the other, whether or not we have it or we don't have it. We need to know whether or not the plants that we send our waste to will accept the waste with food as part of the component. If they do, or if they don't, it makes a big difference as to whether or not we need to adopt this type of ordinance. If they don't, then I don't know that we need to adopt the ordinance, and God bless the developers and the homeowners who want to put in food disposal systems. So I think we're in limbo right now in terms of what to tell. I think this came up with Regency, didn't it?
Yeah, David Foltz.
Yeah, I think he's moving forward at his own risk at this point because we can't give him an answer one way or another in terms of whether or not there's going to be an ordinance which is going to be adopted, which will prohibit them.
His quite direct question to me was, he wants to know where the ordinance is. He wants someone to show him where the ordinance is prohibiting it right now.
I understand, you can tell him that we've
Right
looked
now, we
and
don't
there is
have
no
one.
ordinance, but there is one being discussed, here it is.
Okay.
And it hasn't had any real council discussion, may or may not be adopted ultimately.
Okay.
I think that's the appropriate answer.
All right,
And
thank
we should
you.
put it back on for 2 weeks from now, see if we get the information, I guess, for the next meeting.
I would
I
say
guess.
that's probably the best thing
Probably
to
the
do.
best thing to do.
Who's responsible for finding out if they'll accept the food waste?
It's gonna end up being DPW who ultimately, this originally came up through DPW, and I do believe that Steve Ratner probably was one of the main proponents of this particular type of ordinance with his involvement with the MSA. And, you know, from my recollection, I know I told Michelle, it was my impression that it actually had been adopted a number of years. I mean, we're talking about in the mid-2000s, probably 2005, 2006, that this was ultimately discussed and I thought resolved, but obviously not.
All right, so we'll table it for next meeting, get more information.
Yep.
All right, we have 17 resolutions. Does anyone have any questions, concerns?
Nope.
That was easy. Seeing none, we have one ordinance, amending the hazardous materials. Any questions, concerns on that? Mr. Roman?
I am pleased with the changes that were made to this ordinance. It does not appear, from my prima facie reading of it, that will impact in it any businesses, small businesses that routinely, as part of their normal practices, store small amounts of what could be deemed as hazardous materials. And I don't see that it would be a burden to any business that would eventually engage in such activity.
Thank you. Anyone else? Seeing none, does anyone have any new business? Seeing none, does anyone from the public wish to be heard? Please just go up, state your name and address for the record, please, up by the podium.
I would tell you that if you want it to be part of the public record, this is the conference meeting, and it's not gonna end up as part of the public record. And there are public portions during the public meeting, which are coming up next, so it's up to you.
You want to wait till the public, till the meeting? Yep. We'll call you up again, sorry.
Barbara was recalled.
Recall, that's fine. Anyone else from the public? Seeing none, close to the public. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? I open the Mount Olive Township Council meeting for 7/26/2016 to order. Michelle, would you read the Open Public Meetings Act, please?
According to the Open Public Meetings Act, adequate notice of this meeting has been given to the Daily Record. Notice has been posted in the Municipal Building, 204 Flanders Drakestown Road, Bud Lake, New Jersey, and notices were sent to those requesting the same.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Mr. Amianda, Mr. Ferrante, Mrs. Labow, Mr. Mania,
Here.
Mr. Stewart.
Here.
Mr. Roman.
Here.
Mr. Nacastro.
Here. Mr. Roman, would you please move the July 12th, 2016 workshop public meeting closed session?
I move for approval of the minutes of July 12th, 2016 workshop, public meeting and closed session.
Second.
Any discussion? None. Roll call, please.
Mr. Mania,
Yes.
Mr. Stewart.
Yes.
Mr. Roman.
Yes.
Mr. Nacastro.
Yes. We have 25 pieces of correspondence. Anyone have anything on correspondence? So let me get rid of this one. Seeing none, I open the hearing to the public on ordinance number 15-2016, an ordinance of the Township Council of the Township of Mount Olive, amending ordinance number 29-2015 entitled Salaries of Certain Non-Union Personnel. Mr. Stewart?
I move that ordinance. Which one am I on?
15-2016.
Public. Wait a minute, I messed something up. Thank you. Sorry, that. I move that, I move for adoption and final passage of ordinance 15-2016.
Second.
Anyone from the public wish to be heard on that? Seeing none, close to the public. Any council discussion?
Thank you.
Seeing none, roll call, please.
Mr. Mania?
Yes.
Mr. Stewart?
Yes.
Mr. Roman?
Yes.
Mr. Nacastro?
Yes, ordinance number 15-2016 is passed on second reading, and I hereby direct the clerk to forward a copy of the same to the mayor and publish the notice of adoption if required by law. Let's see what we got here. Next item on the agenda for first reading is ordinance number 2016-2016, an ordinance of the Township of Mount Olive in the County of Morris, State of New Jersey, to amend the Township Code, Chapter 224, Hazardous Materials. Mr. Mania?
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that ordinance number 16-2016 be introduced by title and passed in first reading, and that a meeting will be held on August 9th, 2016, at 7 p.m. at the Municipal Building, 204 Flanders Drakestown Road, Bud Lake, New Jersey, for a public hearing, consideration of second reading, and passage of said ordinance, and that the clerk be directed to publish, post, and make available said ordinance in accordance with the requirements of the law.
Second.
Any discussion? Anyone from the public? Seeing none. Roll call, please.
Mr. Mania?
Yes.
Mr. Stewart?
Yes.
Mr. Roman?
Yes.
Mr. Nacastro?
Yes. We have 18 consent resolutions. Does anyone wish to move any to non-consent? Mr. Roman?
I wish to move resolutions 1 and 2 to the non-consent list.
Anyone else? Okay, move those to non-consent. Mr. Stewart, would you move resolutions 3 through 18?
Yes, I would like to move for adoption and passage consent resolutions 3 through 18.
Second.
Any discussion on those? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Mr. Mania?
Yes.
Mr. Stewart?
Yes.
Mr. Roman?
Yes.
Mr. Nacastro?
Yes. Mr. Roman, would you move resolution number 1? You want them separately, I guess?
Yeah, I'd like to move non-consent resolution number 1 for approval.
Second.
Discussion? Mr. Roman?
The reason I decided to separate this resolution from the rest of them is just to want to congratulate Captain Stephen Beecher on his promotion to Chief of Police. It is a testament of our police force that we have so many qualified personnel within our ranks that can very quickly rise to the level to chief. And I look forward to seeing the efforts of the Mount Olive Police Department and Chief Stephen Beecher as he serves the community, especially considering his past years of service. If it's any indication, Mount Olive will be proudly served.
Second that.
Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Mania?
Yes.
Mr. Stewart?
Yes.
Mr. Roman?
Yes.
Mr. Nacastro?
Yes. Mr. Roman, would you move non-consent resolution number 2?
I wish to approve non-consent resolution number 2.
Second.
Any discussion? Mr. Roman?
It's the same as before. I'd like to congratulate Corporal Eric Anthony to the level of sergeant. He's definitely one of the hardest working policemen in our ranks. He has been cited numerous times by residents that have approached me on his outstanding work, and I look forward to his continued service as sergeant.
Thank you. Anyone from the public wish to say anything on that? Seeing none, close to the public. Anyone else? Roll call, please.
Mr. Mania?
Yes.
Mr. Stewart?
Yes.
Mr. Roman?
Yes.
Mr. Nacastro?
Yes. I'll switch it up. Mr. Mania, would you move the bill list, please?
Absolutely, Mr. President. I move for approval of the bill list.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Mania.
Yes.
Mr. Stewart.
Yes.
Mr. Roman.
Yes.
Mr. Nacastro.
Yes. Administrative reports, lawyer, mayor, anything?
I have. Last night, unfortunately, we were subject of another bad thunderstorm in town, and it's very odd that certain sections of town get hit in certain storms as opposed to the entire town getting hit. Yesterday, it was the Netcong Road area. There were a number of trees that were down, electric poles that were snapped in half, and power outages, and up through at least 6 o'clock, there were still a number of residents who had not had their power restored. And I did speak directly with JCP&L, and they hope that it would have only been another hour or two to get everybody back online. There was one house that on Netcong Road that I was at where it looked like every tree on the front yard came down and just barely missed the house. I had to go to the back of the house to make sure that the people were okay. But fortunately, it didn't look like there was a tremendous amount of property damage other than the downed trees and power lines. I do know that Matt Jones actually suffered a significant amount of tree loss and property damage. He was one of the few. So if you have a chance to stop by and see Matt, and he still has that incredible attitude, even in the face of a natural disaster that affected him individually. Many of you have heard about the issues that we've had at Turkey Brook with the splash pad. So I've posted about it, but let me give you an update. You know that we were ready to open the splash pad, and we had that horrific storm on that Friday before July 4th weekend. What happened during that storm is a number of different things. Because the ground had been so disturbed during the construction, the lack of grass, the reseeding, we ended up getting, and the torrent of rain that came through on that storm. It was so bad I couldn't drive up to Turkey Brook. I barely could find the baseball parking lot to get off the main road. There was a tremendous amount of debris, talking about dirt, seeding, mulch, that ended up in the splash pad. And the splash pad is such that when it's not operating, there are a number of features that are actually ground level. And so all of that material ultimately has to either be cleaned out or run through the system. We also believe that the splash pad may have been struck by lightning because there were certain aspects of the mechanical, electrical system that were not operating properly. And in fact, we thought that we were going to have to replace certain aspects, but ultimately we got it up and running. From that point on, we were getting system faults as we operated, and we were able to run basically for an hour and a half before we'd hit a fault, and it would shut down the entire park. And we ultimately were able to get it to a situation where we'd run for an hour and a half, we'd hit the fault, we'd shut it down for 15 minutes, turn it back on, get another hour and a half. Unfortunately, it was so hot that we had to man it with our buildings and grounds people to just keep it operational. I didn't want to shut it down completely. Yesterday, we got the system we finally were able to get in touch with Siemens and the manufacturer of Vortex, and we were able to change some of the tolerances in terms of the way that the motor operates, so that it didn't trip the system and it worked properly the entire day. It was great. We think that we've worked out all of the kinks that we were having. And then last night, again, we had a torrent of rainfall. And we're looking at different options in terms of stabilizing the ground that surrounds the splash pad. I made the decision last night to not open the splash pad today because I wanted to give the guys a chance to clean out the system without having to run all of that material again through the system and cause additional issues. So that's all been done, and we expect to be up and running full-time tomorrow and going forward, while at the same time we're looking at issues in terms of stabilizing, including some sod perhaps. There's no irrigation in that area, so the sod is not going to take most likely, but we're looking at different ways to keep the materials, until the grass grows in, to keep the materials off the splash pad. So if you've been up there, you see that we generally are running between 70 and 100 kids. And it's just been a tremendous, tremendous outpouring in terms of, the kids are just having a fantastic time up there. So that's what's going on with the splash pad. I've tried to keep everyone advised through Facebook in terms of what we've been doing, and we did get through the weekend. I was very happy about that, and we should be good to go from this point forward. But the success of the splash pad has actually caused other issues. For instance, one is, do we need to change our policy in terms of the rental of the gazebo, which is a shaded area where people want to go eat, but we rent it out to different groups and families and the like, and it kind of, we have to look at that and see how that's actually going to work in light of the fact that the splash pad has been so successful. I actually have asked a log to be kept up there so we can track, not necessarily to know who's there, but we can track where people are coming from, because I have an interest in knowing. I'd like to have their email addresses so that we can include them in the things that are happening in town. I think it's a great thing that people are coming from outside town. I can tell you when my kids were growing up, Imagination Station was the place. And imagine if Roxbury said, you know what, we only want our swing set to be used by local residents. It helps the businesses, it helps sell the town, and ultimately it's going to be a huge benefit to people who are looking to sell their properties, because people will already have known what kind of facilities we have here in Mount Olive. And I can tell you that the crowds have not been anywhere near a situation where anyone who has wanted to use the splash pad hasn't been able to get onto it. So the fact that people are coming in actually adds to the vibe of the place, that they're, it's got this great vibe of kids who, they run around and then they wait till the 3.5 minutes when the bucket's gonna drop, and they all kind of gather right in the middle, and the bucket drops, they scream, and they move on to the next. Have any of you guys been there? It's incredible, isn't it? So it's a great addition. It's as exciting as I thought it would be. Lastly, I just got an email from Fred DeToro that they're moving another 14 butane rail cars. It's not unexpected. And we continue on with our fight. I don't know exactly where we are in terms of the fight. I know that the order to show cause aspect of the case was resolved by way of the judge's order, which allowed the rail cars to stay, but also required additional safety measures to be put in place. And I know that Fred is following through with those safety measures. And we are going to continue to put pressure on the county when that lease expires with M&E to, that's really where the fight is now, is to make sure that the next time that the lease comes up, which is either March or April, that this type of storage is not allowed. And so we're going to have to deal with this situation for a little while. It's unfortunate, but railroads have federal exemption type rights where you can't infringe on what they do by way of state or local laws. But we're going to do what we can by way of adoption of local ordinances and use of state statutes to protect the residents of Mount Olive as best we can. I think that's pretty much it for administrative matters.
Thank you, Mr. Manning.
Mayor, just some input for what it's worth. I think it's going to be very difficult to grow grass and stabilize that area around the splash pad with compost and not topsoil. That's compost, that's not topsoil.
I can tell you, interestingly, that's what I heard, but the area where we're getting runoff from the splash pad, when the bucket drops, it actually has like a backwash, which we didn't expect, and the splash pad isn't sloped appropriately, so we're getting water runoff. In the areas where the water has run off, the grass is growing.
Maybe I'm wrong.
And so was everybody else who said the same thing, that, we're looking into perhaps grass blankets, just to stabilize the area. And
Right.
We'll look at all of the different
Sod
options.
would be great, it's instant.
It is, but, you got to keep it alive.
Yep, you gotta water it.
Especially with this heat.
Yeah, we'll look at the options. We'll get it done.
I'm sure.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you. Any old business? Seeing none, any new business? Seeing none, any legal matters?
Yes, just to piggyback on what the mayor was discussing regarding M&E, we had a case management conference, and we were advised that the matter is going to proceed, the litigation is going to proceed. We have 60 days to do any discovery that needs to be done before we go back for another conference. We are pursuing and investigating as many aggressive ways to fight this as possible, and I know that Fred is keeping you apprised of everything, Mayor, and without going too much more into it, since it is pending litigation, we are pursuing all possible avenues to fight those tank cars being on the tracks.
Did Judge Hansberry retain jurisdiction over the case, or did he send it to Law Division?
He, as of right now, he is retaining jurisdiction. It is a contract dispute, so it really should go to Law Division, and that's one of the avenues we're looking at pursuing, is getting it out of Chancery and into Law Division.
I think that would be a good move. It's my own personal experience.
Right.
That's it?
Yeah, that's
All
it,
right.
Mr. President.
Thank you very much. Council reports, Mr. Amand is not here, but I did attend the Board of Ed meeting last night. They are holding the election for the full day, I guess, full day kindergarten, is going to be September 27th from 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. It's a Tuesday. And that was really the only bit of information I got out of there. There wasn't much last night discussed. So, Mr. Ferrante's not here, Mrs. Laybaugh's not here. Mr. Maney, anything on legislative or planning?
I will be attending a meeting tomorrow evening about the increase in the gas tax and give some input. And I will make a report to the council after the meeting, at our next council meeting.
Thank you. Health Department, our meeting is August 17th. We do not have a meeting in July, so August 17th, 6:30 here. Mr. Roman, anything on open space or
We
rec?
forgot planning board.
Oh, planning board, I thought you didn't have anything, I'm sorry.
We had a meeting last week at about the 7-Eleven. A lot of input. We didn't finish it. It's postponed till September. So,
There's a lot of community opposition,
yes, there is, very much so.
including Colleen.
Yeah, Colleen got up and spoke
Yeah.
a number of times.
Anything else, Mr. Maney?
That's it.
All right, thank you. Mr. Roman, anything on open space or rec?
Nothing on recreation, we don't meet in July, and on open space, nothing either.
Hey, John, can I cut in for a second?
Yeah.
Mavis Tire Center, where the Exxon station is on 206, right?
That's been approved.
So that
Yeah,
Exxon station?
Mavis brought all STS tire centers.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see they converted the one in Hackettstown to
Yes, but
Mavis.
that abandoned Exxon
Yeah.
station right after you
Oh,
go,
good.
Yeah.
coming north,
Yep.
after the trestle, is now gonna be a tire center.
That's
They're
good.
gonna build an 8-bay building.
Good, so
That'll be
that's out of
nice. Yeah, yeah, the other
That's
side.
Wow.
a rundown, that's
Gonna
good.
take a lot of business from Mr. Roman.
Never worry.
Mr. Stewart, any MOTV?
Not this week.
Nothing else. Okay, anyone from the public wish to be heard? If you
Now's
do,
your
you can just
chance.
go up to the podium, state your name and address for the record, please.
Where's your bear button?
Fan of yours.
I'm a fan of hers.
Called her during Sandy, the storm got back to her, and from that time on, you didn't know more. You're a hero.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Barbara LaRocco. I live at 96 Crease Road, Bud Lake. And I'd like to thank you all for giving me this opportunity to speak to you all. As a local resident, I'm here today to briefly speak about the drastic expansion of the trophy bear hunt and to respectfully ask that the town of Bud Lake do what Pequannock, Butler, and Oakland have done and make its borders off-limit to bear hunting. Last year, the Division of Fish and Wildlife drastically expanded the trophy bear hunt to include killing more than one bear, raised the number of bear hunting permits to 11,000, added more regions throughout New Jersey, added a week which includes bow hunting and muzzleloaders in October, and increased the hunt to 10 days in December. When the overwhelming amount of comments received, which was 92.4%, was opposed to bear hunting, the Division of Fish and Wildlife went ahead with the entire policy without making one single change that reflects public opinion. In 2000, the division wanted a 37-day bear hunt, and as a result, 31 towns and environmental commissions passed resolutions against the bear hunt. This allowed then Governor Whitman to cancel the bear hunt. In fact, 3 governors have stopped 8 bear hunts because the public is overwhelmingly against them. It is well established that bear hunting does nothing to reduce conflicts. There are simple and effective solutions that not only keep bears away, but also reduce their population. By simply keeping bears away from unnatural food sources, the #1 solution, we can do that. I am asking you and pleading you to please introduce and pass a resolution or ordinance that closes all public lands in Bud Lake to bear hunting. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Did you have something, Mr. Mania?
Question, can we legally do that?
Yes.
You can legally do it if it's owned by the township. If it's state-owned or county-owned property,
Then you can't.
obviously you
Obviously you
can't
can't.
restrict, but
I'm pretty certain, Michelle, you can tell me if I'm wrong, but we don't allow hunting on any public property in Mount Olive.
Right now, no.
No.
Cause of liability, right, Mayor?
No, we just made the decision not to allow, Mount Olive already has an ordinance which prohibits any type of hunting on public property.
Public.
Any property owned by Mount Olive. Did you hear what the lawyer said? The lawyer said that we can't stop people from hunting on state property or county property. But otherwise, we don't allow hunting in Mount Olive already. But you may want to, this is a council issue, it's not a mayor, it's a legislative issue. You can, I think, pass something, a resolution which
More clarified.
not only more clarifies, but takes a position with respect to either opposition for or not do it.
Well, can we get the ordinance we have as well, and we'll look at the ordinance and take that into account and see if we,
Push it towards the county.
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, we'll check that out with the ordinance we have. Mr. Roman.
Are we
Yeah.
moving with the impression that we're against bear hunting? Is that?
Well, I think it states that we don't allow hunting in general.
I mean, I completely
Right.
understand why we wouldn't allow hunting on township-owned properties. And it would not be because of any opposition to hunting per se, but just of the possible liability that
Right.
we may incur. But,
True.
you know, is this council trying to move forward into, you know, telling the state that we are anti-bear hunting? Because, I think that's something that we should discuss.
I agree 100%. That's a
Right.
decision you guys have to make.
That, because, I for one, without having a discussion as to the merits, on bear hunting per se, I think it would, I would not want to even move in that direction to start making Mount Olive a anti-bear hunting just, because it's, right now, sounds good.
Correct. That's why I wanted to see, just to get the ordinance to know what we have on the books.
Right, let's look at the ordinance, see
On the
what
books.
it
We're not making any
entails,
decisions
and
right
go
now.
from
I
there.
just want to see the ordinance we have.
I
'Cause I-
just wanted to clarify it. I don't want
Yeah.
to make it seem
Understood.
like, that, at least, I for one have no position either way as of yet.
Understood. Yep, just state your name and address, please.
My name is Peter LaRocco. I live at 96 Crease Road, Bud Lake, New Jersey. I'm a resident there going on 50 years. I came up here when it was dirt roads and 4 or 5 police in the force. I watched this town grow. I never really paid too much mind to, bears and this and that, but the last few years I walk through these woods. There's about 600 acres back there, state land, and I come across sometimes, a couple days ago, there was a female with two little ones about yo big walking. That bear didn't bother me, and she was maybe here to that door away, and I looked, she just looked at me, and I said, why is she standing there? And I looked, and the little ones were up in the tree already. And she kind of walked away, like away from there. She didn't get up and grunt or anything. I said, and when I do see a bear, they're not a danger to anybody. I don't see any problems with a black bear. If I did, I'd bring it to your attention a long time ago. My property adjoins the state land. And last year, I was back there in my garage, and I see this guy there, and I said, can I help you? I'm hunting. I said, you're hunting on my land. Well, I have people posted along the power line, which is about 200 yards up. So I says, okay. I says, but you shouldn't be this close to a house. You should be about 450 feet or whatever away, and that gun should be unloaded. I says, I don't see that happening. And he says, well, he talked a little bit. I says, where you from? I thought he was a resident. He says, I'm from Patterson. I says, what do you do for a living? I'm a barber. I says, well, how did you find this? He says, when you buy a hunting license, it's in the compendium, and it has Mount Olive with all this, this tract of land and all. We want to be friendly to people and fair, but, just coming up there to go to, you don't know where you're going, you're walking back there without a compass on 600 acres, you get yourself in trouble. Plus, these bears are not a problem. If they were a problem, you guys would know about it. I appreciate the stands you're taking, but you said you're neutral one way or another. If you seen what I seen, you wouldn't think like that, because there's nobody, when you see these bears, all they're doing is living like you. They're black. Does that mean something? What if they were white? Would you take, that sounds kind of stupid, but, I think a lot of people are afraid because he's big and he's black, and black is a color that scares people. Just a fact. So.
Mr. Roman?
Just to plant that, I think you understand where I'm coming from. You can say, oh, that's not true, but it is true. Thank you for your time.
The same opposition that I hear to the bear hunt is I hear from people that are against fishing, that it's inhumane and all that stuff. So I for one, don't think that the color of the bear is the reason why people actually hunt it. I think, if that was the case, deer would not be hunted because they're actually more adorable than anything. But
You have to speak at the podium. You have to speak at the podium. Sorry.
My point is because it's a large animal, and it's, the color kind of frightens people. I think if it would, say for instance it was pink or had polka dots, I think people wouldn't wouldn't fear them as much. That's my point. It has nothing to do with
right, but I don't think people are hunting bear because they're.
No, they hunt them because they just like to kill them and take pictures, and then their wives say, that's disgusting. I'm macho. That's why they hunt them. They don't eat them.
I've never hunted an animal in my life.
Good for you.
But I can appreciate those that do engage in hunting and eat and actually do something productive with the meat.
That's fine with deer, but they don't eat bear meat. From what I hear from a few people way upstate New York, they don't eat that stuff. No one eats it. So
I beg to differ, but having not engaged in any bear steaks recently, I can't say per se. But of many hunters that I have met, they hunt not just for the sport of kill and leaving it there. They actually harvest the meat.
Well, they're not hunting bears for food.
No, they don't hunt bears for food. They hunt bears according to the state. They have the hunt because there are too many bears and they need to cull the pup. That's what I've heard. I don't hunt myself.
That's what the state.
It's only what I've heard. I don't hunt. I could care. I'm not scared of bears. I know that bears are scared of people. You just don't want to get in their way. They don't want to get in your way.
That's it.
That's just the way it is. When they have their kids, you need to stay further away because the mother bear will protect her cubs. That's nature.
Right,
as I said, we already don't allow hunting in Mount Olive in our public areas.
Great.
As council has already told us, state property, and that's where it ends up in there. We're exempt, we cannot override the state. Everything flows downhill, and we're at the bottom of the pile. So we can pass laws and ordinances, but we can't interfere with what the state does on their own property. So what it came down to from my perspective is this council going to make a statement that they're against the bear hunt? And it seems to me that that's really what you're looking for from this council.
Right.
And what I'm hearing from Alex is we need to give that some thought and some more debate before we're gonna take a position on it. And Alex's position right now seems to me to be, I'm not sure that I'm opposed to a bear hunt, and he has his right to take that position as you guys do. So I think that's where it's left, Joe. I think
Yes,
you
it
need
is.
to set it down and have it at a conference hearing, maybe next meeting, and say, okay, do we want to take a position with respect to the bear hunt?
Correct, and that's what we'll do. We'll get the thing and
That's
we'll...
great.
You pass a resolution that says, or you won't, that says that Mount Olive Township is not in favor of the bear hunt, and can we get from Mrs. LaRocca the towns that she's identified that have passed something with respect to the bear hunt, so it can be considered? I heard Pequannock as one.
Yeah.
If you give us the names of, after the meeting, okay, you can hand it to Michelle, the town clerk, and she will get from all of those towns what they've passed, so that we can have a better discussion next time when you come back. Next meeting's on the 9th?
Yes.
Right.
So by
August
then,
9th.
we'll see what they've done, and I don't know what they're gonna do. I don't know if I was voting that I would vote in favor of opposing the bear hunt, or maybe I would, I don't know, but at least we'll have the information, we'll see what other towns have done.
Thank you. I'm not against hunting, you know. If you hunt like deer hunting, fine, you eat it, fine. But, you know, I think you know where I'm coming from. And I just want to make a point. During that, what was it, Sandy, the storm? We live up there, the trees come down, we didn't have power for like 4 or 5 days, so we used a generator. The police, came, 11 o'clock at night, a curfew. So my wife called your office, got the answer machine, left a message for you saying whatever about that. You called her back within a half an hour personally, and you said I don't want to quote your words, but in the effect that you run that generator all night as long as you have to. And if the police have a problem with that, you tell them the mayor said to come and see him. Well, we never had a problem after that, but you know what? That's leadership. I'm not tooting your horn, but that's leadership.
I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Anyone else from the public wish to be heard? Yes, please just state your name and address.
Doreen Fraga, Saddlebrook, New Jersey.
Could you just repeat your name again, please?
Doreen Fraga,
Doreen?
Saddlebrook, New Jersey. I'm with the League of Humane Voters, and I'm just here tonight to, that's basically what we wanted to do. Ask you to consider introducing a resolution and to put the issue on the agenda for next month's meeting. I do have the resolutions from the other towns that have done this already, and they basically have closed their borders, nothing to do with the state, but their borders to hunting. Because now you're going to be able to hunt 150 feet from somebody's doorstep. So that's what they do not want. So that's what these resolutions are for, and I can leave them, and that's what we're asking, that it be put on the agenda for next month's meeting. Thank you.
And we will. Thank you. Anyone else from the public wish to be heard?
7 o'clock.
Name and address for the record, please.
My name is Andrew Johnson. I live at 43 Vista Drive in Flanders. I had no intention of saying anything here tonight, but I feel compelled to say a couple of things regarding the hunting issue. I am a hunter. So is my son. We agreed before we ever hunted anything that the only sportsmanlike approach is to eat anything that we shot, and we always have. Partly because we're not very good at this, so we don't shoot very many things. that's always been true for me in my family, which is not a big hunting family, but it's an occasional pastime. But I've heard two things tonight that compel me to stand up here before this honorable council considers this motion. First, I'm going to take them in reverse order. Nobody is going to shoot a gun within 150 feet of anybody's doorstep because under state law, you cannot come within 450 feet of any residential property when hunting or carrying a gun for even target practice. The second thing is about the safety of black bears and the overpopulation and the importance of culling the herd. Let's not forget that within the last 12 months, a young student from Rutgers University was chased down and mauled to death in a state park as close to us as Mendham, if I recall correctly. And there is danger there. We don't, it would be irresponsible of us to represent black bears as cuddly animals. They're not. When they're not overly aggressive, but when one is surprised, and as Mr. Mayor pointed out, particularly a female with cubs can feel threatened very easily and will go to great lengths to protect those cubs. And people get hurt, and it is a problem. It'd be great to find a way to coexist, but the fact is that our town is growing in population a lot, and it would be tragic if, having passed this motion, it leads somehow to physical injury or worse for one of our residents. And I'll just leave it at that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. You can go up and just state your name and address for the record, please. Oh, I didn't see you there. I'm sorry. I didn't see you.
Hello. Hi. My name is Valerie Devine from Lake Hiawatha. I wasn't really planning on talking tonight either, but I just wanted to mention a few things about the black bear.
Could you just speak up a little bit?
Oh, sure.
Could you repeat your last name?
Devine.
Devine. Thank you.
I'm here talking about the black bears. Couple issues. The incident that happened with that young man from Rutgers or whatever school it was, I forget offhand. There's some missing facts there that I don't think any of us really know the truth to, about his hiking, who he was with, all the facts that were involved with that. I know there were some reports that we could not get or tried to get, and we never got the full answer on that. So as far as him being mauled, there's a possibility that that gentleman or that young man may have fallen first, and there's that possibility out there. So we don't know for sure how and why he was mauled by the bear. So I think that should be taken into consideration. The other thing too is, I don't know whether it was brought up yet, but in October there's talk about having bow and arrow hunting of the bears. So that is a new thing that I think should be put on the record too, that it's not only going to be hunting in December, it's also allowing in October a week of a bow and arrow, which is a little crazy in my mind. It's bad enough you're killing the bear with a gun, but now that they're allowing bow and arrow. And the garbage is really an issue. A lot of towns, a lot of homes, people do not dispose of their garbage properly. And the bears, like this young gentleman over here said, they're just trying to exist like we are. They want to eat, they want to live, they want to take care of their cubs, their babies. So if garbage is not disposed of properly, the bear will go into the garbage and certainly, will eat anything from a dirty diaper to anything. So garbage needs to be better addressed with proper garbage-proof cans, and even putting ammonia in the garbage should deter the bear from tearing your garbage apart and strewing it all along your lawn. But thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am, just,
Sorry, I'm Doreen Frager.
That's okay, you can leave it, I'll get it later.
Doreen Frager, Saddlebrook, New Jersey. I would just also like to say that we do presentations about black bear. We have somebody that will come in and tell you everything that you need to know about garbage, about dealing, about coexisting with black bears. So we are willing to offer that as well. And when I was referring to the 150 feet, that is with bow and arrow. So that is something new, and that's going to be allowed. And that's a whole different hunting technique right now for the black bear. Thank you.
thank you. Anyone else? Seeing none, close to the public. Any council comments? Mr. Mania?
You know, I've done some hunting, if you want to call it that. I've shot a few pheasant. I one time had a deer in my sights. It looked at me and I looked at it. I couldn't pull the trigger. I do feel strongly about killing the bear. I'm against it. I must tell you that.
Mr. Stewart, any comments?
None for me.
Mr. Roman?
None for me.
None for me, just thank you all for coming this evening. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you all.
I once had a deer in my sights too, and I
They
just
hit
shot
a
it.
car.
When I shot it, I would have shot it if I tasted good.
I couldn't shoot it. It looked at me and I looked at
And
it.
you know what? Look, when I go fishing, I always feel bad when I kill the fish.